there's a peace and there's like this trust knowing that God's going to handle things and he's going to, in his perfect way and in his perfect timing.
Rewrite. New life, new beginning.
Hey, I'm Jonathan Unthank. Welcome to another edition of the Rewrite Podcast, and we are here in Knoxville with Caleb and John.
What's up?
What's up, guys? The Rewrite Podcast is just a simple conversation of how you came to faith in Jesus.
Yeah.
You know, and I'd love to hear your stories, just how you came to faith in Jesus and how He's made the impact in your life, and then of course just what He's doing right now.
Yeah.
In your careers and just as you're on the road and as you're seeing Him. Do His thing in your life. So, man.
So I'll start. I gave my life to Christ when I was about 18 years old.
Yeah.
I had lived my life. I guess my whole family kind of lived our lives like in church, but not really, super a part of it. Like I guess it wasn't really a relationship. It was more like we would just go, check the box on the weekend. And so that brought me to a spot where I think I was really starting to feel the weight of, my sin. And I had yet to understand the gospel and the grace that we can freely receive. And so I had one of my sisters sent me this song, and I saw it was a Christian song, and I didn't want to listen to it. I didn't want anything to do with it because it was a Christian song. And I, kept on living for about 6 more months. I kept on just doing what I was doing, living how I was living. And man, one day I stumbled across a song on my own called Reckless Love. And I remember it changed my perspective on the mercy of God and the grace and how, it talks about how I don't deserve it. I couldn't earn it, so you give yourself away. And for me, that was something I think, maybe it's just like a guys in general thing. It's like I feel like there's this standard of like performance that you feel like you have to hit, and I think everyone has that. But I know that's what it was for me. And hearing that, I guess it clicked for me that I don't have. It's not about the bad things that I've done, and it's also not about the good things that I've done. It's about Christ and what He's done. And so all that to say, I sent this song to my sister, and she said, "John, I sent you this song 6 months ago."
No way.
And she said, not only did I send it to you, but every time that song has come on and I've heard it, I've prayed for you specifically. I've been thinking about you specifically. Amazing. And so, that changed my life, and I gave my life to Christ, and that's not it. There's a long story after that.
That's the starting point.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So now coming to where you are now, and you're playing in a band, and you're on the road, and you're seeing how your music is influencing and impacting others. Do you go back to that moment and be like, man? Oh yeah, Lord, you had something for me that I had no idea.
Yeah. Even in that way that like God would use a song, for me, like I think that was special because I think He knew that. I don't think, He knew that I was going to, be writing music. He knew I was going to meet Caleb. He knew we were going to have a ministry together. Yep. And just like, He knew that I was going to need an experience through music to be able to reach people through music. And so I'm very thankful. And
That's awesome.
I go back to that a lot.
That's cool. So today, who is God to you? Is He showing up in different ways? Is He showing up as like, man, He's your provider, He's your father, He's my friend, He's the one that I can count on. He's my go-to.
Yeah, I would say He's. I think there is probably, in my head at least, there's kind of like this difference between like rest and peace, and like in that moment when I gave my life to Christ, it was more of like I found rest. Like I know that I don't have to carry the weight of my sin and my mistakes. And I think like I meet Caleb, and it's just, we took right off, and it was just kind of like guns a-blazing. We had a lot going on really quick. And I think more so in this season with everything that's happening, there's like a little bit of chaos, but it's like there's a peace and there's like this trust knowing that God's gonna handle things, and He's gonna handle things in His perfect way and in His perfect timing. And so I can trust that. And there's rest from my sin, but there's also peace in the moment. So
He's got you in good hands.
Absolutely.
right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Good hands. Awesome. Caleb. Hook me up, man. Tell me about your story.
Yeah, man, absolutely. So I'm a pastor's kid.
Yep.
So I was raised in a very Christian household. Was not allowed to listen to anything other than Christian music until really till college. When I started, was like, John Mayer, who's that? Led Zeppelin. Ooh, I don't want to know. Anyway, but so I was very, very raised in a Christian household, but my parents would tell me about Jesus when I was like really young, and so honestly, I've got a very simple salvation story.
Sure.
Like, I realized in kids' church one day that there was this guy who was God.
Yep.
His name was Jesus, and he wanted to be in my heart because he loved me. And so I was like 4 years old, and we got back from kids' church, and I knelt down by the bunk beds that my brother and I used to share, and I asked him to be in my heart, and that was it, you know. So and so obviously, there's a progression from the faith of a 4-year-old, right, which is faith like a child. Bible talks about that. You have to keep some of that, but to right, the Bible says, I once thought like a child, now I think like a man, right? So just growing in my faith over the last 6 years since I accepted Jesus into my heart, and really learning like what it is to stay in that salvation. And eventually, right, when you're a kid and you have faith, you have a little bit of your parents' faith, right? They're very ingrained, but just growing into who you are in Christ. And there might be a lot of people listening that have been in church since day one. I came out with the Bible or a Gospel of John in my left hand, but just like find out how to grow your own relationship with God and grow your own faith and make it your own. So I was baptized by my dad when I was 9 years old, and it's crazy. And when I was 12, I felt the call of God on my life to be a Christian artist, like do Christian music, like full time. And I was like, I don't know how to do that. I was 12, but I was like, just trust that God would open the right doors, and so that's in a nutshell. Well, I will add this. So we planted a church in Rhode Island. Rhode Island's where I'm from. When I was 13 or 14 years old, and our worship leader had to move like when we were a year in, and my dad was like, all right, buddy, I need you to lead worship. And I was like, I've never led worship.
Dad,
like,
come on.
I also barely know how to play the guitar. I don't know, like, what am I supposed to do? He's like, well, sorry, buddy, you got to figure it out. And so that was a huge catalyst into, me being thrown into the fire a little bit, but me being able to like really come up with those skills that I needed to perform that ministry role. And a lot of that's brought into today.
All right, so do you remember what songs you chose to lead the congregation in worship? Do you remember one of them?
Man, I'm coming back to the heart of worship. There's that one. And then, there's one of our favorites, well, my favorites to do anyway, was I want to sit at your feet, drink from the cup in your hand. That was a good one.
That sounds good. Great. I haven't heard that one.
Before John's time.
Really good. Yeah.
Before John's salvation time.
He could like teach all these, man.
That's right. Yes, he learned about the Great Adventure from me.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
Dude,
Stephen Curtis.
Yeah.
History of CCM.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
And CC Winans, too.
Alabaster Box.
Alabaster Box.
Dude.
Oh, yeah.
I've got a lot of catching up to do for sure.
Caleb and John karaoke.
Yes.
Come on.
CJK. C and JK. I like that.
That's awesome.
Dang. Okay.
So having that relationship with the Lord from a young age.
Yeah.
Now 26 years later, what's the thread that you felt throughout those years? Is there something that you're like, man, every year it's like there's the consistency of God? Is there something like that?
Yeah. So I think provision is what I would say.
Yeah.
Like every time, like I remember, even when we started that church plant, unfortunately we had to shut it down a few years into it. We weren't sure how God was going to provide for our family. And so, we just prayed and just through little ways that God would just provide and make sure that, we had enough to survive. And And I remember I was a senior in college, and I was about to graduate, and I was just consumed with anxiety and fear because I didn't know what I was going to do after graduation of college. And I spent like the entire day like in like prayer and fasting and prayer and stuff, and I felt God speak to my heart. He said, "Just watch and see me provide."
Wow.
And like, the Bible talks about the peace of God that transcends all understanding. That just washed over me in that moment, and I did not have any more anxiety or fear like going into graduation and beyond. And God has always been true and faithful to his word. He has always provided for us. He has always made a way and taken care of first me, now me and my wife, and me and John, and just through this whole season, he's provided greatly.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, you've got our prayers.
Yes, sir.
We're surrounding you, and guys, appreciate your time today.
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
Oh, thanks, John.
You got it. You got it.
Sir.
Thank you so much for joining us. Another edition of the Light FM's Rewrite Podcast. We'll see you next time.
Bye. See ya.
This is Rewrite, stories of new life in Jesus. I'm Jonathan Unthank. If you'd like to join a community of listeners who enjoy hearing the life stories of Christian music artists and influencers, then join the Rewrite text group by texting the word Rewrite. That's REWRITE to 81891. But more importantly, if you'd like to dig deeper into your own relationship with Jesus, you can begin that journey today by texting his name, Jesus, to 81891. God bless you. Join me next time for another episode of Rewrite.